Hey everybody, James and Tammy. I'm James, that's Tammy.
I'm hiding, I don't have any makeup
Tammy doesn't have
on.
any makeup on, she didn't even want to do this. It's like, honey, you look good without any makeup
I'm with
on.
my hands.
Hello. We'll do it like this, like on the side. Okay, so this is question and answers.
Puppet.
Yeah, I need a puppet too. Okay, question and answers from the last time we did it. All right. Is there any supplements you would? This is, by the way, from Jose Rivera. Is there any supplements you would recommend for a pregnant Frenchie? So let's talk about pregnant Frenchies. What do you do, Danny? The pregnant Frenchie.
I'm trying to turn down my radio, sorry.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Pregnant Frenchies. What do you do?
I did supplements?
Yeah.
Vitamins.
What? Vitamins. So we get a lot of pet tabs.
Yeah.
We get pet tabs.
Don't use the ones with iron. They don't need it.
Okay. Well, there you go. You know about that.
Just a
so
multivitamin for a dog.
Pet tabs, and then folic acid is good to give. And then what about food? What do you do?
Jack. A week before their due date, a week, 2 weeks before they're supposed to be having babies. Jack's great.
Yeah, or switch them to a Biljac, Biljac. You may have a hard time finding it.
It's in the freezer section in the grocery store.
So there's two different versions of it.
Kind of an orangey yellow bag, kind of like a yield sign yellow bag that it's in.
The red writing, a brownie red writing.
Yeah, this is frozen.
Yeah.
You can buy it at PetSmart, but it's, that's not frozen there.
There's a dry version. We don't use that,
dry,
do we? Yeah. Use it. The reason we use the Biljac is not necessarily that it's such a great food, it's they like it.
Oh yeah, and it's real good for them.
And one of the problems that you have is they lose their appetite. And you don't want to go into a pregnancy with a skinny dog, because if they have many puppies, they're going to get skinny as heck anyway.
Now, if you've got a female that's got buku's a baby, you need to feed her different times, because her stomach's already huge anyway, and if you give her a whole big meal all at once, it's really going to blow her up. So just divide her food up and make sure she gets that maybe at least 4 times a day.
We don't hold food back at all, do we? From dogs that are a week out from having puppies, or they've got puppies, we give them as much food as they want.
Right. We just keep their bowl full. Right.
So to reiterate, Biljac, if you don't have Biljac, go put them on a puppy food. It's a higher protein food, right? A puppy food. There's no point giving calcium or those kind of things to boost milk production until milk is being produced, maybe the last few days of the pregnancy.
That's cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese, yeah.
Goat's milk, powdered goat's milk, sprinkle it on there. But the thing, too, is when you bring your female home after a C-section, don't pour the food to her, because she's just going to throw it up. You can look at the guy on the horse over here, Tennessee Walker.
Oh, yeah. So, next question.
And not lots of water, just barely any. Give her a little bit at a time, because they'll just throw it up. This is from
Rocio Lopez Perez. What progesterone level would be early for an SI and result in an unsuccessful pregnancy? Well, so that's kind of I'm going to ask the question a different way. What is the right number to do a surgical insemination on? The answer is, if it's an IDEX machine and you're in nanograms per milliliter, then you want to do SIs or surgical inseminations between 20 and 30. So what is early? So early is 15 is a vaginal, you're a day early. Anything before that, don't do it. Wait. Anything after 30 is suspect. Alright, next question.
Notice James's phone's ringing constantly.
Yes.
This is all day long, all night long.
Hey, that's another good point. If you ask me a question, try to make it short, if you would. Don't give me this much text. It takes me forever to go through it. I might not answer it. Give it to me, concise. Just ask the question you're asking for. I mean, I hate to sound rude here. I don't need a lot of preamble. What I need is what's the relevant question.
Seriously, he gets about 50 phone calls a day.
I do.
He tries to get to everybody, and sometimes it's pretty crazy. He hangs up from one. He's got 2 that tried to call him during that conversation, and then it's just constantly. So
this person asks, Kit says I must use a HEP, or are they talking about doing a test? They're probably going to do they're doing a progesterone test. And what you've got to do on a progesterone test, you've got to draw blood, spin it, get the plasma off, or the serum, the clear liquid on the top. And so in here it talks about using a HEPA or an EDTA tube and centrifuge down. The answer is none of that matters. As long as you let it sit on the counter for a few hours so it separates, or better yet, if you have a centrifuge, you can do it in a few minutes so it separates, or you can use a ceiling fan, and you can take a tube, what I use is the guard off the end of a syringe, put the blood in that, which holds about a cc, stick it with some tape on the end of your ceiling fan, let the ceiling fan run for about an hour, and that'll separate it. You don't need a HEPA tube, you don't need an EDTA tube, regular, anything will do as long as you separate it. This is from American French and Bullies. Hi James, do you breed back to back on your females after a C-section, that is? Okay, so we've had a C-section, so what do you do?
Oh, well, your vet will tell you how her scarring looks on the inside. And if she bounces back after she's had babies, you can do that. I like to do it twice and then give them a break. Some people do it every other, and some people do it back to back. It depends on how your female reacts to it after she's had.
So I've got a whole video on this, and it's called Unethical Breeding of Dogs Back to Back, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And the answer is, the repo people these days will say, breed them back to back is absolutely fine. It's better off for uterine health because it completely flushes everything out. What we do is, just like Tammy said, we have the opportunity of looking under the hood for the C-section. If it looks good, and it's a good litter, and there's no problems, and mom bounces back, we're breeding again.
Right. But I still like to do it two litters in a row, then take a break, and 2 litters.
And you're almost going to have that happen because you're going to get some misses too.
Yeah,
right. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the
and
answer
always
is,
pay attention to the health of your female, the mama dog.
Absolutely.
And the babies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So back to back's okay, just as long as everything went all right. Do you have Isabella's? JB asks, do you have Isabella's? What's the difference between testable and non-testable chocolate? How do you get the testable chocolate?
Number one question. We will have an Isabella here in the...
Stud boy.
Yes, stud boy. And an Isabella maker that is a long-haired carrier, AT-AT. So, but I will have an Isabella chocolate fawn stud boys.
Yes, but the question was, what is an Isabella?
What is an Isabella?
Right. Want to tackle that?
No, you do it.
Okay.
You're better at all these little letters. I'm not.
Well, there's 2 versions of chocolate. There is what was formerly called, it's very confusing because the whole thing changed in April, where we all of a sudden had a test for what was previously untestable. There's 2 versions of chocolate. There's little b, and that means to my finger like that at you. There's little b, that is, when you see that, it can be confusing because you can mean, unfortunately, now 2 different things. Little b is a chocolate dog. If you get this strictly right, little b is a testable chocolate dog that came back from a DNA test as little b. There is another version of chocolate, and that, by the way, is Isabella maker. That's the Isabella gene. There is another version of chocolate, which was formerly called untestable chocolate, that we now call the cocoa gene. You can get that test done from places like Animal Genetics, and they both produce chocolate dogs that have a red eye glow. They will produce lilacs if they're blue as well, but they are completely different versions of chocolate. They do not mix. You can't take a cocoa dog, what we used to call untestable, and put it with an Isabella maker, little b dog, and produce chocolates. You have to have the right version of chocolate with your dog to make chocolate. If you get both versions in a dog, that is called the new shade. The new shade chocolate. It's kind of a milky color.
Oh, they're pretty.
They're pretty. They're
pretty eyes.
Expensive too. They're expensive dogs. So this is I'm going to do another whole video separately on this at some point in the not too distant future about specifically this. But the answer is, Isabella, you can get chocolates 2 different ways. They both have red eye glows if they've got 2 copies of it, and it's either little CO, which is what was formerly untestable chocolate, or it's little b, which we would now call an Isabella chocolate. Isabella, by the way, is really a lilac that is a chocolate dog, little b. It's an expensive dog.
Beautiful eyes.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to stop this because we're at 10 minutes. We're trying to keep our videos on 10 minutes, and we'll start again. Bye. Everybody.